Mulan, the highest honor. Chapter 1. This is a story about family, the Fa family. It is the story of Fa Mulan's love for her father. It began when the Huns attacked Fa Mulan's country, China. In times of war, men are called to fight for their country. Sometimes, if a father is called but is too weak to fight, his son may volunteer to take his place. In Mulan's family, she is an only child. When her father was called off to war, her heart was broken. He had fought bravely in a previous war, and he had been injured. He would not survive another battle. Mulan did not know what to do. So she decided she would pretend to be his son and take his place. One night, as a storm raged outside, she cut off her hair and put on her father's armor. She took her father's conscription notice from her parents' bedside, and in its place she left her comb so they would know where she had gone. She did not want to tell them her plan ahead of time because she knew they would try to stop her. Then she saddled her horse, Khan, and rode off to meet the army. Chapter 2. Mulan's ancestors sent a little dragon named Mushu to watch over her. He, Khan, and a lucky cricket named Cricky accompanied her. When they reached the army camp, she encountered many troubles. The men thought she was one of them. They wanted to fight with her and treat her like a man. She did everything she could to avoid it, but sometimes she ended up getting everyone, including herself, into trouble. She was weaker than the others, but she tried very hard during the training. Still, she seemed to fail miserably at almost everything she attempted. It wasn't easy being a soldier. One day, Mulan and the men were running through the mountains with weights across their shoulders. Their captain, Shang, wanted them to be strong so they would be prepared for battle. But the weights were heavy, and Mulan could barely keep up with the others. At last, she tripped, falling to the ground. Captain Shang saw her. He picked up her weights, carrying double the load of anyone else. Mulan was humiliated as she pulled herself to her feet. She was failing as a soldier, and she knew it. Then one day, Captain Shang shot an arrow into the top of a tall pole. He asked everyone to climb the pole carrying 2 heavy weights. This, he said, pointing to one of the weights, represents discipline. Then he pointed to the other weight. And this represents strength. You need both to reach the arrow. No one could do it, but Mulan was determined, and she thought long and hard about the task. At last, she figured out a way to loop the weights together to climb the pole. When she reached the top, everyone cheered. Even Shang looked pleased. Chapter 3. One day, Captain Shang's troops were called to help their fellow countrymen fight in battle. As the troops crossed a snow-covered mountain range, they were attacked by the Huns. Mulan managed to help her troops defeat the Huns by causing an avalanche. And she also saved Captain Shang's life. Unfortunately, she was injured while saving him. When she was unconscious, the army doctor who examined her discovered her secret. "I did it for my father," she tried to explain, but Shang felt betrayed. "A life for a life," he finally said, throwing down his sword. "My debt is repaid." He was sparing Mulan's life because she had saved his. But she was no longer welcome as a soldier in his army. They left her shivering and alone in the snow-covered mountains. Chapter 4. After the others had left, Mulan saw some Huns emerge from the snow where they had been buried by the avalanche. Among them was Shan Yu, their horrible and vicious leader. Mulan knew she had to warn Shang and the others, so she raced to the city where they were meeting with the emperor. They did not realize Shan Yu was hiding, ready to attack. When Mulan found Shang and the others, no one would believe her story. Soon, the worst happened. Shan Yu captured the emperor and held him captive in the palace. Shan Yu and his men locked all the entrances. No one could get inside to help the emperor. Finally, Mulan managed to convince some of her army friends to help. Even Shang eventually joined her. She formulated a plan to disguise the men as women. The Huns would never expect women to attack them. Soon Mulan and her friends managed to defeat Shan Yu and save the emperor, using cleverness, not strength. Chapter 5. The emperor was grateful, but Mulan figured he would be angry with her for pretending she was a man in order to save her father. Instead, he thanked her, and he honored her family. "Take this," he said, handing her his pendant, "so your family will know what you have done for me." Then he handed her Shan Yu's sword. "And take this, so the world will know what you have done for China." Then Mulan rode off back to her family. When she returned home, her family was so happy to see her safe and sound. They were deeply honored by the emperor's gifts. And as for Shang, he found out where Mulan lived, and he came to see her. She liked that part. In fact, she asked him, "Would you like to stay for dinner?" And she felt very much in agreement when Grandmother Fa added, "Would you like to stay forever?"